Hi, Karen Curry here, author of the #1 best-selling book, Understanding Human Design, here with your free Human Design Weekly Evolution Transit Report. I have a lot to cover this week. We've got a big shift happening in Neptune, and it's really important this week that we go a little bit more into detail with that. So before we dive in, I just want to cover the simple bases. We start the week with the gate 36 moving into the 25 on Wednesday, so a lot of energy this week about finding new ways of expressing love, finding new ways of connecting with spirit, getting out of our routine. We've been in our routine for a while. Now we're kind of shaking it up and getting out of our routine and really looking at what's new, what are the new ways to connect, what are the new ways to kind of experience spirit, what are the new ways of experiencing spirit in form. Our physical bodies also become part of the focus of this energy this week. So we're looking at how do we live spirit, how do we manifest spirit, how do we be in spirit physically. So it's really a good week to go do yoga or to start a new yoga routine or have a different relationship with your body this week. Not just, and I'm not just talking about beauty and makeup and all that stuff. I'm talking about really moving deeply into being aware this week that this body is a vehicle for your soul, and it's a physical manifestation for the light that is you, and really looking at how you can cultivate a different kind of a relationship with this physical form that is you, this manifested spiritual being that is you. So Mercury is in the gate 30, moving into the 55 today on Monday. So that means, again, in our communications, we're now also starting to talk a little bit about spirit. We're kind of in a really mystical, spiritual phase here for the next week or so. So definitely we're talking about spirit and the importance of spirituality and faith. It's part of what we're really focusing on. So kind of a dreamy, mystical kind of a week in that respect. Venus moves from the 19 to the 13 this week. So we are, again, we're moving from this energy of intimacy and even neediness a little bit into this energy now of looking at the past. So we're going back to doing revision in our relationship quadrant, really, looking at in the past few weeks as we've deepened our intimacy, as we've created these revolutions and how we've connected with each other, as we've kind of gone through these a cycle of renewal in our love life. Now we're kind of going back and again revisiting what worked, what didn't work, where do we want to go ultimately. But for now, you're really, again, doing a little bit of personal reflection on your relationships and how they've worked and what that means to you. Mars still sits solidly in the gate 32. So again, we're still dreaming, we're still thinking big, we've still got this ambitious quality. Be mindful when Mars is in this energy that you're not leaping into things without following your human design strategy first. So make sure that if you're a waiting type, that you're waiting for correct timing, that you're trusting your intuition and really allowing your intuition to tell you whether the time is right for you to start a new idea. It's very easy when this energy is playing for you to leap into things and then go, shoot, that wasn't it. So make sure that you're following your strategy. Our big outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, our outer planets, as I've talked about a lot before, they are really creating the energetic framework for our evolution, both on a personal level and also on a collective level. If you're familiar with human design, in particular if you're familiar with the human design solar plexus mutation, and if you're not, I'll send you a link where you can learn more about it. We are knee deep in the shift, no kidding, right? And part of what we're doing is we're actually moving or evolving to a higher expression, or I would say maybe not necessarily higher, but certainly a new expression of humanity. In the year 2027, a new energetic dynamic of being human is actually going to show up on the planet, meaning we're on the threshold of evolving to a different expression of being human in form. And this new human, we'll call it human 2.0, that we are all moving towards, is a human that has a different kind of capacity for sustainability. It's a new human that has a deep capacity for sustainable peace, that has a deeper capacity for creating sustainable resources. It's a new human who is ready to create businesses that are rooted in value systems, that the ways in which we connect and create community and tribe and family are all in flux and changing right now, and ultimately moving towards an expression of being human that is much more accepting, much more loving, much more allowing, and certainly much more consciously abundant and rooted in source than perhaps we are right now as we are in the midst of this shift. So that being said, everything that changes and shifts in these outer planets is all about helping us continue to grow the consciousness necessary to facilitate the evolution of a new world. I know, it sounds fluffy and woo-woo, but it's really important work that we're doing right now. If you're watching this, you're probably very conscious and aware that you have a life purpose that is part and parcel about serving as a midwife, so to speak, to the new world. And as we do this evolution, as we evolve this evolution, we have to first create it in consciousness. We have to first create it in mind and anchor and hold a place for it. For the last 2.5 years, we have been working with Neptune in the Gate 55. Our spiritual lesson on a personal and on a global level has been to learn to have faith. The 55 teaches us that we have everything we need. We can have access to everything that's necessary for our support, for the expression of our spiritual form in form, provided we trust that Source is our source. Meaning, as long as you're conscious that you are abundantly supported by Source and you stay aware of that source and you have the faith to act authentically, to follow what's true for you, to follow what's true in your soul and follow what's true in your heart, that you will be supported. That's been our lesson. We may not have mastered that lesson just yet, but we're certainly in school to evolve and grow our faith capacity. And certainly the last 2.5 years have been deep, deep lessons about learning to let go and learning to have faith. Now we're in this year, and as of Saturday, this Neptune energy has shifted into the Gate 37. And so we're looking at a whole bunch of brand new themes that are really important for us to pay attention to. You know, Neptune is really the planet that it really kind of pushes us to differentiate from spirit. It really is that place where we start to see ourselves as separate from spirit, but simultaneously also recognize that we are of spirit. So it's really this beautiful place where we learn how to individuate and yet simultaneously unify with spirit and really embrace the idea that we are spiritual beings in physical form, or ambassadors for spirit, if you want to say that. We have, of course, as part of our Neptune cycles, these deep lessons. As I said, our last cycle was all about faith. Now we have this new cycle that's about harmony and holding inner peace. The Gate 37 is this very soft energy, very beautiful energy that has, in its highest expression, is all about harmony and faith. It is an energy that is really a touch point oftentimes in the face of crisis. So it's really a place when you're working with this energy, it's really a lesson to teach us to learn how to find our centered space, our peaceful place, hold our vision for what we want to create, no matter what's going on around you. It is, you know, if you've meditated, and if you've meditated for years, you may have a very familiar feeling or sensation of when you close your eyes and you instantly sort of connect with that divine space. That is the essence of this 37. It is sort of this divine space that moves towards the heart, that says, here's my centered space, here's my peaceful place. I know it sounds like a really bad episode of Saturday Night Live, doesn't it? but you know, it really is. The 37 really is that energy, and it is actually part of the archetype of being human, that we have this place of inner peace. When we have this place of inner peace, it allows us to maintain our focus no matter what's going on around us. So chaos can be around you. Things can be shifting and changing dramatically in unexpected ways, and they will this year. It's the nature of having the planet Uranus in the Gate 21 right now. Things are going to shift, and things are going to change, and things are not going to be the way they look for at least the course of this year, if not beyond. So it's really important that as our world is shifting in such unexpected ways, that rather than reflexively reacting with a need to try to control it, that we instead move in consciousness to this centered place and say, okay, all is well. I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand the shift, but I'm going to continue to anchor this vision of peace inside of myself. And I'm going to trust, because that's what we learned last cycle, and I'm going to trust that everything is going to work out in a way that fully supports the expression of myself and of the world as it should be. And even though I don't get what's going on around me, even though it might seem confusing, even though it might not seem what I thought it would be, to seem like, what, you know, even if it's unexpected, your goal in this cycle is to master holding this space of certainty, this place of peace inside your spirit, inside your soul. So many of us might be dealing with chaotic circumstances and changes. Certainly we're all going to be dealing in certain ways with unexpected shifts and changes. And as we do that, we cannot lose our focus, and we certainly cannot lose our place of peace, because certainly every energy in the human design chart is a spectrum or a continuum. You know, the high expression is peace. you can imagine what the low expression is. Certainly there's a lot of potential for things to be in flux, and certainly because this is also an emotional energy, there's a lot of potential for this to also be not peaceful, for this to be reactive, and for this to be an emotional energy, and for you to struggle sometimes to find that place of personal peace and inner peace, and certainly collectively for all of us to hold a place of peace as we move through these shifts. Now, this same energy is also the energy that's about, it's actually the energy, the place on the chart where we have the energy for marriage agreements and bargains. It's the energy where we make business deals. It's the energy for family. So certainly mixed in with this place and this energy of peace, we're also going to be reevaluating and redefining, what does marriage mean? What is the nature of how we come together in commitment? Certainly we've seen foreshadowing of this with the issue of gay marriage. I will say that as we continue to evolve forward, we're going to continue to drop our gender identification and really completely loosen our rigid legal definitions of what it means to be a family, and create legislation, this is my prediction, create legislation that's much more in alignment with the evolving definitions of what family really is. Of course, on a personal level, you might be redefining for yourself what is your family, and reevaluating your own commitments and your own engagement and agreements that you've made in relation to your contracts and agreements with others, and certainly in your contracts and agreements in your own relationships, and really getting deeper into what does family mean to you and what is your family. Now, of course, this theme of family can expand be much more expansive. You know, it's not just about our personal families. These are the outer planets. So we're also looking at, who is our collective family? What's up with our divine siblings? You know, what does it mean for all of us to come together in unity? And are we making agreements that are not only good for ourselves personally, but also for the greater good of the whole? This is a really huge deal for us. We are really going to really start looking at, how is my life, my choices, my actions, how are my agreements, how is my government, how is my legislation, how is the world around me affecting and impacting my divine siblings all over this world? These are big questions that we're going to be entertaining on a much deeper level now, that perhaps we haven't been looking at deeply enough just yet. So a really important shift from the personal world to a perspective that's all about looking at the outer world and how our actions are impacting not just ourselves and our own little families, our own tribes, but the bigger tribe, our global family, our divine siblings. In addition to that, you'll find that the focus also is going to be a lot more about home, and what does home mean? What is your home? Finding your home, redefining your home, focusing on home, and also creating a home for everyone. So because this is also this energy, the 37 is also energy for sustainable resources, I certainly would say that part of what we're shifting towards as well is really looking at, you know, what do we need to do to sustain our resources so our planet, our big global home, can become sustainable. And certainly in light of global changes, global weather pattern changes and climate shift, you know, these are going to be very important dialogues that we're going to be having, that are not only going to be about how do we sustain our resources, how do we change our agricultural processes, how do we shift all of this, but also how do we do it so that everyone has enough, so that everyone is safe, so that everyone is taken care of, so that all the resources for the planet become sustainable. It's a tall order. And there will definitely be a lot of naysayers around you. If you're really embracing a vision of an abundant world that's sustainable, you know, if that's the vision you're holding, and I hope you are, because that's really our job right now. Those of us who are really, you know, serving on the leading edge of consciousness, our job right now is to hold this vision of a sustainable, peaceful world, and to midwife that vision with great care, okay? As we do that, you will be surrounded by people who will say, no, it's not going to work. You know, you will be surrounded by people who are going to give you a lot of scenarios that are gloomy and filled with doom. Your job is to hold that space no matter what. And that's really what the 37 teaches us. How do you hold your focus in the midst of chaos? When you hold that focus and you anchor that conscious vision of a new world that's coming, and you maintain that no matter what, you will be absolutely fulfilling your role and serving the new world, in creating the new world, and playing the part that I'm pretty sure you probably chose to play when you incarnated here in the first place. So, a lot of stuff going on. Have a wonderful week. Next week, more exciting things. Take care. I'll talk to you next week.